Blog Talk Radio.
A legend passed down through the generations. A myth to some, reality to others. Thousands claim to have encountered this creature from all around the world. Footprints discovered, unidentifiable hairs collected, unusual sounds recorded. Something is out there. Sasquatch Watch Radio. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network, interviewing the men and women researching this phenomenon, the latest news and information, research techniques, and cutting-edge technology. True terrifying encounters as told by those who have experienced them. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Your host, Billy Willard of Sasquatch Watch of Virginia, brings you the most riveting discussions on the internet today. blogtalkradio.com/Sasquatch Watch Radio. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Sasquatch Watch Radio. The truth is out there. Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is December 7th, 2009. Can you believe it? We're almost at the end of the year again. It seems like we just celebrated Christmas. Anyway, welcome everyone. I'm your host, Billy Willard, and I'd like to introduce my co-host, Mr. Mike Killen. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Hey, Billy. Just fine, just fine. Hi to everyone out there listening and all our friends piling into the chat. Hey, guys. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, and we appreciate each and every one of the folks that come in here and listen to our shows every week, and we continue to enjoy getting any comments, any suggestions that you folks have. You know, always feel free to send that on to my email address, because it really helps us to kind of gauge how we're doing. You know, are we doing good? Are we doing bad? Is there some things we can work on? You guys help us make this show what you want to hear. So we always appreciate your comments, and I know Mike does as well.
Yeah, feedback is invaluable, really, because you know, the guests, like you said, you know, they can tell you what they like about the show, maybe what they didn't like, and you know, they're basically helping you improve the show for them. So they're actually, you know, doing themselves a favor, you know, by giving us the feedback. That's
right. So yeah, that's some great stuff. So we appreciate it, everyone. We have a great guest tonight. Mr. R.W. Ridley. He has just recently published a book called Lost Days. He did send me an advanced reader copy of the book. I have not gotten completely through the book, but what I've read so far is just amazing. Definitely a very interest-catching book right from the beginning. You know, we were talking just prior to the show start tonight that I told him, I said, you either have, you know, you must have some daughters or something. He said, well, no, I have some sisters, because one of the characters in the book is a young teenage girl, and I tell you, he brings out a teenage girl to the T. So he's done a wonderful job on the book. I think everyone will enjoy it because, of course, it's got all of our favorite subjects in it. But anyway, without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. R.W. Ridley to the show. How you doing tonight, Richard?
Hey, Billy. Good to talk to you. Good to talk to you too, Mike.
Great to have you with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. This is a thrill for me. I don't get to talk with the Bigfoot Sasquatch community much, so this is really kind of nice for me. So.
Well, the book, obviously the book is a book of fiction, correct?
Correct, yep. Mm-hmm.
I was going to read the author's notes, but I think we would rather hear it from you. Since you're the author, we'd like to hear, what really spiked your interest in this subject. What made you decide to write a book and bring the subject of Bigfoot into it?
Well, the way I was introduced to Bigfoot, I'm born in '65, so the Patterson film came out in '67, and I guess that's when it really took off. But and that, by the way, it makes me 43, so it makes sense that a 43-year-old man would write from the perspective of a 15-year-old girl. So. But anyway, when I was a kid, it was in central Illinois at the time, and it was a small community, a little town called Weematuck. And I remember there was the next town over was called Canton, and there was a small little town square. It had one movie theater, and it must have been '72, '73. They announced that the documentary built around the Patterson film was going to be making a tour through that little town. So my friends and I, of course, were excited about it. It was Bigfoot, and we went to the theater, and we sat in the theater, and it was just getting to that climax where they were going to show that film. Yeah. And a woman burst into the movie theater and said, I'll change the name, but Tim Rogers, there's a tornado coming. Please come. Get out of the movie theater now. This is your mother. And now I know why it's against the law to scream fire in a crowded movie theater, because it literally just people screaming and running towards the aisles. And, of course, tornado did come, wiped out the town square, and I never got to see the climax of the movie. So, years, so that just kind of ate at my soul for all those years, and it's all I could think about, and just, my imagination went wild, and then years later I did finally see it, but I think probably in 91 or 92, I was in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, walking through a bookstore, and I saw Dr. Grover Krantz book, Big Footprints. Yep. And I picked it up, and here you had a legitimate scientific inquiry into the question of bipedal apes in North America, and I just devoured that book. I thought it was so well written, it was so compelling, but yet it was great reference material too. So I started writing a book then about it, and actually sent Dr. Krantz a letter. And to my ultimate thrill, he responded and sent me a letter back. And I wrote the first book. That was the first book I ever wrote, and it went nowhere. That often happens with your first book. So so I shelved that and went on with my life and wrote a few more books and wrote a series that did okay for me called the Oz Chronicles. Right. In fact, still writing that series, and my agent stopped me on book 4, and she had me do some rewrites on some other things. And while I was waiting to get back to book 4, that's when I wrote Lost Days. I decided to go back to that one thing I've always been fascinated with, and I found Dr. Meldrum's book and used that as reference material too. But Dr. Krantz really kind of introduced me to the serious side of the whole issue. So. Right. That's kind of a rambling answer to your question.
Nope. That's what we love, and that's what people love to hear. They love to hear all the background. Yeah. Just get an idea, about how you come to where you're at today. Now you're the author of, my understanding of the Oz Chronicles, which apparently has won some awards. Yeah. Now, tell me about the Oz Chronicles, because I've never read those, so I don't really know what that is. Just give us a little synopsis of what that's about.
It started with a book called The Takers, and it's the one-line pitch that I always give everybody is a 13-year-old boy wakes up to discover he's responsible for the end of the world, and it's about him. He trying to bring everybody back, trying to undo the wrongs he's done. So. Right. And the whole Oz connection is really just by mistake. I named the character Oz. Wanted to give it a series name, so I called it the Oz Chronicles, and then somebody pointed out to me, actually a reviewer pointed out that it was very similar to The Wizard of Oz, and well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I guess that kind of, when you grow up watching that movie every Thanksgiving, from the time you can speak till probably you're in junior high, then I guess something kind of seeped into my brain, but yeah.
Very interesting, very interesting. Do you have any questions over there yet, Mike?
No, we do not.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Just so everyone knows, if anyone has a question for Richard about his book or anything else, the call-in number tonight is area code 347-237-5070. I'll repeat that number, 347-237-5070. I saw a Skype caller on the line just a moment ago, but I was trying to let Richard finish up. So, if you want to call back in, Skype caller, we'll grab your call there. I apologize, but we always like the guests to kind of get their introduction out before we start taking calls. Now, I guess it's very interesting the way you actually bring the fact that this girl, you know, I guess at first it's almost like she thinks that this guy's got like human footprints or something in his garage.
Yeah, it's a very kind of, she's a very kind of Scully character from the X-Files. She's not a believer, so it takes her a while to really, actually it takes her until she actually sees one to come around, but it's more, you know, when you get down to it, it's more about you know, the family bond that you have, even with the whole Bigfoot clan that's in there, that it really comes down to that, how strong the bonds of family are. So
yeah. And you know, it's kind of great that you bring that out, because you know, we have said time and time again, even within the research community, you know, without a tight bond of friends and researchers that you can work together with and network together, I mean, you really do form strong relationships with people, and it's important in anything you do, really.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, the book is great on how it does that. It's kind of funny because right in the beginning it's sort of comical, you know, the way the mother acts, you know, her mother, and
right, yeah.
I know there's a point there where she I guess strips down and
yeah, and she gets caught by her brother when
yeah. Exactly. So it's pretty funny. But
yeah, and really, I guess I should probably give a quick pitch on what Lost Days is actually about. It's
it's a good idea, because it's I think everybody wants to hear what it's about, and then after we do that, we'll make certain that everyone knows how to get a copy of it.
Yeah, it's really about a 15-year-old girl who is fascinated by her crazy uncle who lives in the room above the garage, and she finds out throughout the course of the book that when he was a toddler, he went missing for almost a year and a half in the woods, and nobody knows how he survived because he was 4 or 5 years old. And what she assumes, or what she finds out, is that he was basically taken care of by Big Feet. I guess that would be the plural of it. But and she, of course, doesn't believe it. But her uncle has a crazy friend, J-Rob, who tries to convince her that that's the truth. And then it takes place in southern Illinois, and it's the latter half of the story is her having her own lost days when she gets lost in the woods and comes face to face with these creatures. So.
Right. All right. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting. There have been people that have claimed to come face to face with these creatures, as you know,
Sure.
Mr. Osterman,
Yeah.
who claims that he was actually abducted, wrapped up in his sleeping bag and carried off.
Yeah, I love that story. I love how he got away. They got into his can of snuff and got sick, so he was able to get out of there. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely some interesting stories. And there's others out there, but I think that's probably the most well-known one. Mike, any questions out in the chat room yet?
Nope, I do not see any questions. I've been scanning as I'm listening to you guys.
Okay, yeah, it's hard for me to watch both at the same time, so that's why I keep asking.
Sure.
Can't keep up with it. And let me just make a real quick check. Okay, all right, we're good. Now, here's my question. You wrote this book. You definitely, can tell by the book that you have an interest in this creature.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do an extensive amount of research prior to writing this book?
Prior to sitting down and writing this particular book, no. I just kind of brought all the knowledge I already had to it. Now, of course, I would flip through the books and this creature in this book is not the same one you're going to find in stories and folklore now. I made them a little more aggressive just because the little poetic license and needed a conflict to happen to the actual bad guys. So to me it made sense that in certain situations they are going to be aggressive. I mean, after all, if we're going to go on the assumption that they're animals, they do have that instinct to protect themselves and survive. In fact, that's what one of the characters says, that their only job is really to survive. And when you threaten that job, then they're going to react violently. So, and I know there have been some cases that very few cases, like I guess in Ape Canyon, where they actually supposedly threw rocks at a cabin for several nights, and
that's also another well-known story, is Ape Canyon. That's one of the few, really, seems to be one of the few aggressive. Of course, that seemed to be more. That was probably the result of intimidation.
Sure. Yeah.
Because apparently, one of the miners had taken a shot at one of them and possibly wounded it or killed it. And,
right.
I probably said, "Well, it's revenge time."
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of what happens in this story. There's a little revenge going on. So.
Right.
And more so taking care of family.
Yeah, exactly. Now this will be another question that everybody will want to hear you answer, and that is, you've put the creature Bigfoot in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe this creature exists?
I want to believe it exists. So yeah, I do. And like I said in my author's notes in the book, for no other reason than it would be just ultimately cool for this thing to exist. And I'd rather live in a world where it does exist than where it doesn't. So I don't have any proof. I believe a lot of the scientific evidence that's come forth. The dermal ridge that Dr. Krantz talked about in Big Footprints just kind of blew me away. I had no idea that there were actually casts out there that had dermal ridge evidence from the bottom of the foot. So that sold me. And plus, there's evidence where the tracks go on for miles with strides that a good-sized man could not make for that for that length. Maybe they could do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 steps like that, but for miles, it's hard to believe that somebody could do that.
Right, and why would someone go to the extreme of making, miles of tracks?
Sure.
For a simple hoax, it typically only takes, a few tracks, and people are, that's all they need to see is a few tracks.
In relatively remote areas where you don't have a lot of activity, it
right.
just doesn't make sense.
Right, exactly.
And then
a lot of people use the same kind of the same thought about the whole PG film. If that whole film was a hoax, then why did they go to the trouble of putting breasts on the suit?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and in fact,
go ahead.
The Patterson film makes, appearance in the book. I mean, there's one of her classmates is fascinated by the whole story, and he's discovered the Patterson film, and he that's what sold him. So. Right.
Yeah, it's there's so many things that that really make people think that that there is a very strong possibility this thing exists. I mean, it's just a few things we've mentioned so far, and then on top of that, even prior to us having the internet age, prior to us having even the conventional telephone and newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
We have books that were written way back, when they first settled on this continent. When
sure.
people came over from with Columbus. We had people talking about these hairy giants. These hairy giants would throw rocks at the fort, and and all these stories. Well, that just further provides proof in my eyes that. This thing has always been here.
Yeah.
It's so hard to believe it couldn't still be here.
Yeah, and Teddy Roosevelt even wrote about it in his book.
Yeah.
Back at the turn of the century. So 19th century. So, it's just and what they're describing, eyewitnesses back before the gorilla was even discovered, is very similar to what people were describing in Africa when they talked about this, hairy man in the woods, which turned out to be, gorillas.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I know I think it was Kathy Strain. I think it's well, there's other books that talk about it too, but Kathy's book in particular, talks about how there's been a lot of rock carvings found that have the face of an ape on it and things
mm-hmm.
like that. All these things were constructed at a time prior to the gorilla even being discovered.
Right.
And so these people didn't have any mindset or any ideas of an ape, but yet we have carvings.
Sure.
That have all those characteristics. So there's so many things that we can really just sit here and think off the top of our head that these things had to have existed.
Yeah, and then you can even point to prehistoric evidence that a similar creature did exist. I mean, there's the scientific community accepts Giganto, so it's
right.
There is, and there's a perfectly logical way for that 9 to 12 foot ape to cross over to North America through the Bering Strait. So. There's just too many it could be. You just got to get to a point where all the circumstantial evidence amounts to something. If it's not a real creature, then it is one of the most prolonged hoaxes in the history of hoaxes. So
yeah, that's right. Any questions yet, Mike?
Yes, we do. We have 2 questions in the chat right now. You want to take those now?
Go right ahead.
Okay. The first question is from Regina 2. Hi, Regina. And her question for Richard is, would he say that the main story in his book is all about Bigfoot?
No. I would say the main story really has to do with Haley adjusting to being somebody who doesn't really fit in, and she has 2 friends and that's it. And discovery of Bigfoot kind of is a catalyst for her to find herself and to find what her life's all about. So.
Okay.
All right, and then we had a question from Bill Green, and I'll give you a guess as to what Bill Green was asking, Billy. I don't even think I have to give you 3 guesses, right? 1 guess would do. I'm not sure.
Bill Green is a regular.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's a attorney here in town who has commercials. His name is Bill Green, so that's where.
Uh-oh.
Now
Bill's been holding out on us.
Yeah. Now Bill's a great guy. He goes around to all the different shows online that are dealing the Bigfoot topic, and he's all over the internet. But he always has his couple of standard questions he likes to ask a lot of people. Now I don't know if this really pertains to you.
I'm intrigued.
Being an author, I don't know if you've actually got out there and done any, investigating on your own, but that's basically what he's asking. He wanted to know if you've ever investigated sightings in your state.
I haven't. More just kind of, you could equate them to drive-bys, really, but the extensive research, no. And it's really one of those things where just life got in the way. I couldn't find the time to get away for a weekend or for an extended period of time. I'm one of those guys that thinks that if you're really going to find it, it may take weeks to months to actually living in the field to find this thing, because it definitely does not want to be found. So.
Yeah. That's a pretty good way to look at it, because it's not like they're coming out on the street and hitchhiking, or
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely got to go into the woods to find them, and probably spend some time there. It's just like any other animal. I mean, even hunters know that the more time you spend in the woods, the more apt everything is to actually being comfortable with your presence.
Right.
And I think that's got a lot to do with it, because if you sit there and the animals and the other things are used to seeing you out there, eventually they get a little comfortable, especially if you're not hurting anything.
Sure.
So, I think that's probably the kind of research that may find this thing, or we may have somebody that does actually stumble across a body or something like that. Who knows? Maybe a little old lady will hit one on the road.
Well, too, and nowadays you have cell phones that have incredible cameras with really high quality pictures,
right.
And it's going to be just increasingly difficult not to have access to some kind of recording device when you do run into one. So.
Yeah. I almost forgot. I have to announce a happy birthday to Adam Fry. He's one of the researchers with us at Sasquatch Watcher, Virginia. So if I don't say it now, I'll forget. So happy birthday to Adam, in case he'll probably listen to an archive or something. So
happy birthday, Adam.
To Adam.
Happy birthday. And Billy, just a quick note, that Skype call is back on the switchboard.
Oh.
But the hand symbol's not up, so it may in fact just be Abe calling to listen in. I know he does that a lot. They don't have that little hand symbol that they want to talk, but I'm just letting you know that there is a Skype caller on the queue.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and take it and see who we got on the line here. Who do we got on the Skype call?
Well, Mike is correct. It is Abe, elusive one. How you gentlemen doing tonight?
Good.
I just called to listen in, but since you did answer it, I don't know if this question was already asked to your guest, but in doing your book, what type of research did you do as far as Bigfoot research to do your book, help you do your book?
Just a lot of reading, and it wasn't a one-sitting type of deal. It's something I've done probably since I was 8 years old, and that was probably when I was 8 years old. That would have been 1973. So it's just over the years I just kind of picked up information and collected it and kept it in my head, and as I said, picked up big footprints, and just kind of that sparked the whole thing by Dr. Krantz. So.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, other than that, I really don't have any questions. Good show, you guys. Great guest, and if you'd be so kind to put me on mute, I'll have to sit back and listen.
All right, we'll do that, Abe. Thanks for
Thank
calling
you.
in.
Nice to meet you, Abe.
You too.
Take care, Abe.
You too, bud.
All right, you got any more questions in that chat there, Mike?
Bill Green just typed in another one. Basically, actually, to us, to you and me, he's basically asking us the same question. If we're looking into Bigfoot stuff in our states, he's asking.
Yeah, I always am.
Yeah, I saw on your website you have a bunch of track camera images and videos.
And I like to post. I like to post everything I'm getting. You know, obviously we're not catching Bigfoot on trail cameras every day, so
right.
You might as well put up what you're catching. You know, and
sure.
We've gotten a few, unique, videos. One in particular is an owl that's actually perched pretty low in a tree, and actually a deer comes down to drink from the creek, and it's funny because they both notice each other. The deer looks up, and then the owl turns its head all the way around, scares the deer. Deer runs off out of the creek. It's kind of rare stuff. I've never seen anywhere else.
Right.
And that was
that's probably the most unique one I've got.
That video, Billy, you're talking about with the owl and the deer, I watched it. That's in the daytime also, which generally you don't really see owls too active. They roost or whatever they do. They just go take a snooze someplace, I would think. Usually they kind of rest during the day and they're not really active.
Yep.
So kind of unusual to see them. Obviously, that's not a roost. You're just sitting out on a branch, just hanging out.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Of course, we've had the interesting videos where something comes up really extremely close to the camera, and you can't make, when it gets that close, it kind of blurs the picture. You can't figure out what it is.
Sure.
We've got one that I'm sure is a deer that's actually putting his nose up and sniffing the camera. But it's really funny when people, watch the videos, they'll come up with a lot of different ideas, like, some may think it's like a moth flying up into the lens. It's really fun, just hearing some of the ideas that people have as to what you can, what you're catching on those things. But
right.
Maybe one of these days. It's like catching a needle in a haystack.
Right. Yeah. Now, do you guys keep up with one of the things I did while writing the book, just to kind of keep inspired and keep going? I would go to YouTube and look up videos there. Do you guys get a chance to do a lot of that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, a lot of times I've got a lot of friends there on YouTube because I kind of like to keep up on some of the things they're doing. A lot of Bigfoot researchers post their investigations and research on YouTube, which is I think is a good thing because we get to see what people are doing. Now that the even the high definition camcorders have come way down in price.
Sure.
I mean, they're very affordable now, and they've got some very unique, even portable ones that you can clip to your hat and just walk around and just kind of video. And it's nice to have that stuff. If you can put it up on the YouTube, which is fairly easy, and it makes it makes it interesting. You get to see what people are doing and some of the things they're trying, and of course, you have a lot of people too posting things that they're trying to. Pass off as Bigfoot, so you're going to get that too. But
there's a fellow I follow on YouTube, Jamie Avalos, maybe.
Yes.
In the Sierras.
Yeah, that's what I called him too. He had to correct me. His first name is pronounced Yami.
Yami, okay.
Yep.
But he has some really intriguing videos that he's put up. It's a lot of footprints.
Yeah. He's we had him on the show. Goodness, I can't remember. It's probably been at least a year ago. We had him on telling us a little bit about some of the things he was doing, and he had pretty much had recently just gotten started in it, but he's definitely a go-getter. He gets out there and does a good job, in his search. So
sure, yeah, and I
my
know
hat's off to anybody that does that.
According to his videos now, he's, I guess, working on a Monster Quest episode with Dr. Meldrum.
Yeah, I think I did hear that. So I wish him all the luck with that. I tell you, that's been a very successful show since the start.
Yeah.
My understanding is it's one of their best shows, and it's doing History Channel real well. So I hope they are able to keep that show up.
Sure.
Love watching that show.
Yeah.
Of course, Dr. Meldrum usually ends up in just about every episode.
Yeah, him or Lauren Coleman, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll keep it up, though. They're doing a great job with it, in my opinion.
Right.
Any questions over yet, Mike?
Not since Bill's question. Nope. I've been reading the chat here. Nope.
Okay. Well, I tell you what. While we got everybody in the chat room, Richard, go ahead and tell these folks how they can find your book.
Okay. You can do a couple ways. If you go to rwridley.com, it's RIDLEY.com. rwridley.com. That'll take you to my website, and just click on that awful author photo of me, and that'll take you to my blog where you'll find out information about me and the books, and also, of course, it's on Amazon, rwridley.com. And probably some other retailer soon. So.
Okay. So and I think Amazon.com is probably where the majority of people go. I know that's where I go when I'm looking for a book.
Right.
They have such a wide selection, and even things that are hard to find sometimes. So that's where you can go, and I'm sure Bill Green was going to ask that, and he hadn't yet. So Bill, go to Amazon.com, and if you probably could even type in the search. If you just type in Lost Days, it'll probably come up.
It should, and you put my name in there. So if you have some Facebook people out there, I do have a Lost Days Facebook group where
all right.
Keep everybody up to date with what's going on.
All right, very cool.
You're launching a preemptive strike on Bill's question there, huh, Billy? You basically answering it before Bill gets a chance to ask it.
Well, I knew he would eventually.
That's the epitome of the word proactive. Just to let you know, I don't know if it's Abe again, but there's a Skype caller on the switchboard, and it has the hand symbol like they want to speak. So I don't know if that's Abe or another person that called in.
Okay, let me pick it up and find out. Skype caller, is this still Abe or is this another caller?
It still is Abe. I just had to give you guys a correction on the name. It's Jaime Avalos.
Oh, it's Jaime.
Okay.
And yeah, he's doing great, tremendous work out there in the Sierras, and I just had to do him justice by helping you guys correct his name. And so it's Jaime.
Actually, Abe, you're wrong too. You're both wrong, but I didn't want to correct Billy in the middle of his interviewing the guest.
Oh, really?
It's pronounced Jaime. It's pronounced the way it's pronounced. You would think it would be spelled Hymeh. It's Jaime. Because Jaime. We went over this. He was on the other show that I do with Bob Coyne, the Bigfoot Quest. And we must have, talked and joked about his name for a good 5 minutes there, because Bob could not pronounce it to save himself. He pronounced it 3 different ways, and then finally, I told him, how to pronounce it, and it was the correct way. It's Jaime.
Mr. Avalos.
He spelled Avalos.
Well, I'm glad we got that all clear now.
Yeah.
All right.
Just put me back on mute, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Well, that was good to know. We don't want to mess his name up.
Yeah.
he'll be coming after us. All right, let me give out the, since we've got a lot more people joining us now, let me give out that number again for anyone that wants to call in and ask Richard a question. It's 347-237-5070. Again, that's 347-237-5070, or you can ask a question if you're in the chat. Just put it in all capital letters, and then Mike will get my attention that you have a question for our guest tonight. What I'm going to do, Richard, is we're going to take a real quick commercial break.
Okay.
Kind of let everybody do their thing, because I usually get a lot of complaints about they need to go.
Okay.
And I can't hold it that long, so we'll take a quick commercial break, and then we'll get back right with you. You can hold on, correct?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back after these following commercials.
Sasquatch Watch Radio. Stay tuned.
June 19th and 20th, 2010 will mark the first annual Oregon Sasquatch Symposium in Eugene, Oregon. Speakers such as Autumn Williams, Scott Nelson, Ron Moorhead, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, David Rodriguez, Kathy Moskowitz-String, Solly Shepard-Walford, Cliff Barackman, Jaime Avalos, and Tom Powell will be only some of those in attendance. The OSS was designed for Oregon researchers and witnesses to come together and discuss the implications of Sasquatch. Tickets for the symposium are on sale now. For more information about the OSS, go to the website at www.oregonsasquatchsymposium.webs.com.
Paranormal Talk Radio, bi-monthly, Wednesday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. Central. Paranormal Talk Radio divas Melissa Hovey and Monica Rollins, never afraid to tell it like it is. Too hot for prime time. 60 minutes of take no grab you by the balls. Paranormal Talk Radio. 8 to 9 p.m. Central, every other Wednesday night on Blog Talk Radio. Paranormal Talk Radio with an attitude.
We hope you're enjoying the show. If you get a chance, visit the Sasquatch Watch of Virginia website. It can be found at www.sasquatchwatch.net. Sasquatch Watch of Virginia is a Bigfoot and Wildlife Scientific Field Research Association. We conduct field investigations and field research within areas of reported encounters. Our friendly research methods do not strive to harm or kill any wildlife. We seek to be cooperative and not hurtful to any person or groups or to any public or private organizations. Feel free to visit our website. Have you had a sighting of a creature? Then feel free to call our hotline to submit your encounter. Our hotline can be reached at 703-445-4287. And remember, we specialize in sightings here in the state of Virginia. Or you can report your encounter at our website under the tab Report Your Encounter. We will make certain that someone gets in touch with you. And please enjoy your visit to our website. Again, it is www.sasquatchwatch.net. You're listening to Sasquatch Watch Radio on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Welcome back, everyone. We still got you with us, Richard?
Yeah, I'm here. Just checking my
right.
fantasy football scores.
There you go. How about you, Mike? You still with us?
Yep, still here.
All right, very good. Well, during our break, we had another caller come into the switchboard, so we'll go ahead and get them on the air. It's got another Skype caller on the line. You're on the air.
Hey, Billy, I'm just calling in to listen. I never press 1, but it always puts me into the queue. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Do you have a question while we have you on?
No, I just dialed in, so I don't know what you're really talking about. I know your guest is an author, so I just want to listen in for right now.
All right, we'll do that. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, any questions from the chat room while we were on break there, Mike?
Kind of. One from JC. I don't know. You might have saw it yourself there. He wants me to ask you. He says, ask Billy if he will be my best man when I marry Diane.
Wow.
JC, if you can talk Diane into marriage, sure. I'll be there. I assume that's going to take place in Oregon over there somewhere. All right, you work on it, and you let me know for sure it's going to happen, and I'll be there. I'll be there for you. All right, Richard, let's. I was thinking about some of the old books and stuff, and I'm sure you remember some of these books. One of the books that I remembered, and there was it did seem to be very few books when I was going to school, and I'm sure it was for you too. Because I was always trying to find any book I could in the school library about the subject of Bigfoot, because I had an interest, also at about the age of 8.
Right.
And one particular book that I remember, and I actually found a copy of this in a used bookstore. I couldn't believe it. I found it for $1.50.
Oh man.
Was a book that was written. They did a series of books. Time Life Books did. And they had one called Mysteries of the Unknown, Mysterious Creatures.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because I was thumbing through the pages of this book, and I remember I used to love to just open this book up and just go through and look at the pictures.
Right.
Of these things. And it's books like that we all probably remember, but there just wasn't very many books back then.
There was a book written probably, not when I was a kid, but probably about 10, 15 years ago, about the life of Tom Slick. Are you guys familiar with Tom?
Yep, very familiar with Tom. Yes.
It was a fascinating read, and he didn't know that Jimmy Stewart was involved with the whole, sneaking out of the Yeti bones out of Nepal, So it was a great book, and I can't remember. And I think it was like The Life of Tom Slick or something like that. But
yeah, they just recently discussed that on one of the recent Monster Quest episodes.
Oh, really?
About how they smuggled those bones out. Talking about Jimmy, and I guess his wife was involved because apparently she put it in her purse or something, I believe.
Right. Yeah, I think it may have been his daughter.
Not you know how they did it.
I'm not sure.
You know how they did it? I remember the wife, like you said, or the daughter, some woman that was there. They scooped out a great big blob of her cold cream, and they stuck the bones on the bottom of a cold cream and put the cold cream back on top. That's how they stuck them out, in a cold cream container.
Yep. And now they're nowhere to be found.
Right, and because Tom Slick died in a what they call a mysterious plane crash in the book, but
yeah. Well, somebody had told me that they were making a movie about Tom Slick. Now I don't know if they're actually in production on that, or if it's still like in the planning stages. That would be great.
Reading that book, I always thought that this would make an excellent movie because it's just full of adventure and espionage and intrigue. Yeah. It's more than just about the world of cryptozoology. It's really just a fascinating, exciting story that the guy just lived large.
Yeah. It's some interesting things. I mean, in this research, some of the things that you learn about, even some of the researchers, learning the types of jobs they have. Some folks are, have some pretty prominent jobs, that look into this mystery.
Sure.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's right, Sean. Sean just put a point in the in there that Nicolas Cage is supposed to play Tom Slick.
Really?
Because see, a lot of people don't know, but Nicolas Cage has an interest in Bigfoot. And
I didn't know that.
He's made it very well known. A lot of the movies that he does, even in National Treasures, I remember him mentioning Bigfoot. There's been a lot of references that he's made in the movies that I don't know if he added those things in there or what. But
well, he would make a very excellent main character from my book. So
yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Hey, that would be good. He National Treasure. He was an adventurer. Looking. It was on a quest. I guess he could do the same thing with Tom Slick.
Exactly.
So yeah, he would play a good part, I'm sure. There's other famous people too, and I can't think of them off the top of my head that have always had an interest. Dr. Jane Goodall has an interest in the subject.
Yeah, that's something that I discovered in the research for this book. Is that the audio clip, where I guess the NPR interview, where she actually said, unequivocally that she believes.
Yeah. I mean, she admittedly admits to being romantic about it.
Right. Exactly.
She says, "I really want it to exist."
Yeah, and that's in basically the same way I feel. It's just so cool to think that there's something out there like that. So. Yeah.
I've been slacking here. I haven't been checking my switchboard there. Okay. We're still clear. You still clear on questions, Mike?
Yeah, we have not had any more questions, but that one Skype call has got the hand symbol. Call on line 3. I don't know if that's 8.
Yeah, it never did go down. I watched it after I took Abe's question.
It just the hand just stayed up there. It didn't disappear.
Yeah, it just stayed up there. I thought it would go away when you answered it, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Apparently, it just stays up. Well, I'll tell you, Richard, I'm going to start asking you some of the conventional questions that we ask a lot of the guests.
Is this the James Lipton questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
These are all just typical questions that we ask a lot of the guests, and they're all pretty general questions just to get everyone likes to hear everybody's thoughts, on what they believe, because there's so many different theories and suggestions out there about what these things are and things like that. So, we don't want you to talk too much about the book because obviously you want people to buy the books. they want to know about the book. They read the book.
Right.
So, I guess one of the first questions we'll ask is, I'm going to assume you've never had a sighting or encounter of this creature.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Now, what do you think? You've done enough reading now on books and watched, I'm sure, Monster Quest and all these different shows. What do you think it's going to take to finally bring proof that this thing exists?
Well, Dr. Krantz said it in his book, or Professor Krantz, I should say. He a body. That's basically a photograph won't do, a video won't. I mean, with the special effects software you can do now, the Photoshops, it's just impossible to rely on photographic evidence. So there's going to have to be some physical evidence. And I don't agree with Professor Krantz's belief that we should shoot one and kill one, but he some sort of, the one of the most interesting things I've seen lately is I don't know, do you watch that show Destination Truth?
Yes, I have watched a few episodes.
They the last episode they had, and this is the Yeti, but very similar. They found a clump of hair that had no matching DNA in their database, and all they could say is it was a primate.
Right. It's so funny because we have so many of those people that have found, hair and things like that comes back, to where there's just not a match. And that's what I've always said. What do they have it to match to?
Right.
I mean, if it's not cataloged, then what do you match it to?
Sure.
I mean, it would be interesting to get all of these, the ones that they've done so far that can't be matched, and compare all of those. Yeah,
that would be a good case study, whether they match each other. Yeah.
That would be very interesting, but maybe somebody will do that one of these days.
Sure.
It would be definitely interesting. Let's see. Out of all I'm sure you've read plenty of different sighting and encounter reports, probably from several websites and things. Do you have a favorite?
Well, actually, the Bosberg Cripplefoot is probably one of my favorites, and it's again one of those tracks that goes on for miles. The fascinating thing about these tracks is one of the prints is an irregular print. It matches, and Dr. Krantz or Professor Krantz did the actual anatomical tracing of the foot, and Dr. Meldrum kind of backed him up on it, and it has all the signs of being a clubfoot.
Right.
And if you're going to fake something, why would you fake a clubfoot? And again, it's actually a couple of years ago, my wife got me those tracks, the replica casts of the tracks for my birthday. So I have those around here somewhere.
Oh, did you get the what do they call that? The bone clones they call them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Kind of neat, I'm so excited I brought it into work, and everybody at work, of course, thought I was crazy. So.
All right. Any questions yet before I go on with my questions there, Mike?
We just had one just now typed in. I mean, like literally the second to last comment as the screen just scrolled up here. This is from Wings Away in the chat, and it says, question to Billy and Mike. How much tranquilizer would be needed to bring Sasquatch to arrest for radio tagging and study?
Boy, that's anybody's guess.
Yeah, I'll say.
We've actually discussed that before. First of all, first of all, it doesn't seem like anyone can get close enough to one to even shoot a tranquilizer, much less, how would you even begin to know how much to use? I mean, we can take guesses at the weight of it, the weight of the thing. If we use too much, it could kill it. We use too little, it could make it mad. And then you may end up dead.
Right.
Well, and even if you get the body weight estimate very close and do come up with a proper dosage, just like with people, I'm sure animals are no different. For instance, there's people that are, have, say, with alcohol, have 1 or 2 drinks in there, they're falling off their chair, and there's other people that could, have 10 drinks and, be relatively, able to function, So even with the body weight, it all comes down to the individual as far as, how their body would handle the drug, the tranquilizer. But, right. I mean, just as a rough guess, I mean, most people seem to be describing a creature that's on a par with the size of, a good-sized grizzly. So I would say, well, talk to a zookeeper, and whatever would be the proper dose to trank a grizzly, like to totally knock it out, to move it or to examine it closely, then I would say it's probably in that ballpark for the dosage. But who knows,
Yeah. It's anybody's guess, really. And of course that's another thing. Dave just brings up a point, and I've thought about this too. I mean, if you did trank this thing, good Lord, what are you going to have to get that thing out of there?
Right.
Obviously, I guess the question though was to to radio tag it, which would be a good idea. That way you wouldn't have to bring it out. I don't know. That would be really interesting, Wings Away. If that could be done, that would definitely be a good way to do it, because more than likely it would lead us to, a family group or teach us about where it goes. So it's definitely a good thing to think about. Make sure I don't have any callers. No more questions, right, Mike?
Nope, just that last one that we just asked from Wings Away, and
okay.
I guess he's I guess old Wings Away there is actually considering it, because he says, "Thank you for a good answer, and about the zookeeper, I will do that."
So
I guess,
Wings Away, if you know where to take a shot at one with the tranquilizer, give me a call. I want to see it first.
And Wings, if you're going to attempt it, I would imagine he'd need a good team of pretty burly guys and a large vehicle to move it. So.
I'll tell you what, I would definitely like to join you if you know where there's one at, because I just have this great need to see one. Let me get back to the questions. What do you think is the most important tool in this research, Richard?
Oh, most important tool. I'm fascinated by this this gentleman in Texas, the forensic fingerprint expert.
Jimmy Chilcutt.
Yes, Jimmy
Yep.
Chilcutt.
Yep.
He has such a unique set of skills and knowledge that I think that's really kind of the greatest tool we have. Is we now have people who kind of specialize in primate behavior, primate fingerprints. As far as Dr. Meldrum's concerned, he specializes in forms of locomotion in primates and ancient man. So I think what our greatest tools are people like that who specialize in very kind of niche areas that fit this particular research. Yeah. Whether it's by design or by accident, I don't know, but.
All right. It's a good, definitely a good answer. You hear a lot of people with different ideas that these these creatures may migrate. Do you think these things migrate?
Yeah, I do. I think, you know, one of the I came across in the research is interesting enough. They kind of follow the season, the berry season across the country, or across certain areas anyway. So where you would have blackberries, you know, ripe and ready to pick, you would have more sightings in that area, and it just kind of works across the country that way. So,
yeah,
so I think they go to where the food is.
Yeah, I've kind of went both ways on that, and you know, I've actually talked myself into and out of the theory, but you know, I feel like I'm starting to second guess myself again, because we have a gentleman at a research site that we've been working on now for about a year. You know, so it gives me an idea of seasonal type activity.
Right.
And it amazes me that he had a sighting fall of last year, and then weeks following up into close to wintertime, and then during that time when we put up the trail camera system, the wildlife was at very low numbers. I mean, we really wasn't getting many triggers on the camera. Well, when spring and summer came along, the wildlife went up, the activity. We were getting, you know, 40 to 50 hits on the camera every week. You know,
right.
Just getting a ton of stuff. And then here, you know, come along October, and we noticed the numbers go back down of like the deer and the other wildlife. And then, lo and behold, back in November, the same time of year as when he had his sighting, he was coming home one night and caught something in his headlights behind his home at his property. Right. And, you know, it's right around the same time frame. So it you know, things like that make me rethink, you know, that maybe there's something to that. I just don't know. But, you know, stuff like that really makes you second guess yourself. So it could be something to that. Now, what do you think? Do you think this thing's more human or more ape?
Gosh, that's a really hard question. You know, romantically, I think it's more ape, but logically, it has to be something other than ape, because to stay out of the public eye, to basically remain unseen by the masses.
Right.
It has some kind of communication skill. You can't go stay hidden that long without being able to communicate with another of your species, in a very complicated and elaborate way.
Right.
So there has to be some kind of language skill there. Now, when I say language, I'm talking a very primitive form of language, but still a lot more complicated than your typical primates. So.
Right. Whether, some people think that form of communication may be wood knocking. You hear that a lot. And then, of course, you have the Sierra sounds, which I'm sure you've probably had to listen to those.
I have. I've actually exchanged quite a few emails with one of the gentlemen involved with that, yeah.
Yeah, Ron Moorhead?
I think it was Ron, yeah. It was a while back, but...
Yep. Yeah, he's got a very interesting collection of sounds there.
Mm-hmm.
And, and they have been analyzed, by several people that...
Yeah, actually, he sent me the study, and most of it was over my head. But what I got out of it was out of the range of human frequency. So
right. And even the newest fellow that has come on board and started to do some studies of those recordings is Mr. Scott Nelson, who is a linguist specialist, and he is convinced that what is on those recordings is some type of an ancient dialect.
Yeah.
So, again, it's, we learn more interesting details all the time. And definitely, so I think you're right. They do have some type of form of communication. What that is, I guess we just don't know yet. But
right.
Now, you hear a lot of people talk about stick structures and tree formations and things like that. What do you think about those? Do you think those are just natural occurrences, or do you think these things may do some strange things out in the woods?
I think they nest. It just fits the pattern of other non-human primates. So.
Yeah. I know. The gorillas do a lot of strange things and with the trees and sticks and things, especially when they're making a nest and that kind of thing.
Sure.
But I have to admit, I have found some really, really strange things in the woods, particularly in areas where people call in sightings. And then I've been in the woods and not found anything.
Right.
So, it's kind of hard to determine sometimes what's natural and what's not. So, and of course, we know that Boy Scouts and things like that can also do different types of markers in the woods too. So you have to keep all that in mind.
Sure.
Too. Is there any questions yet, Mike?
Actually, yes, we did have one.
Okay.
This is from our friend Bill Green again, and he's basically asking Billy and I what you both think of the new Texas Bigfoot primate situation. I guess he's referring to the tracks that were found the other day in Texas around San Antonio.
You know what? I have not read that yet. But I do remember getting it across my email, but I have not had a chance yet to look over that. So I don't currently have an opinion on it. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I read the little blurb there on it was posted on Cryptomundo. I read the little, probably about 8 paragraphs on it. But it's actually a couple of YouTube videos where I guess they're interviewing witnesses or whatever, people that were in there when it happened. I did not watch those yet. I just kind of saved the page to my favorites, and I never got a chance to get back to it. So I can't really comment on the people that are in the being interviewed either. But according to the article, there was some tracks found around the San Antonio area, and a guy from the GCBRO, the Gulf Coast Bigfoot Research Association, I think it was Rick Tullos. He's involved with that, so that's as far as I know on that.
Okay. Richard, have you heard anything about it?
No, I haven't. This is news to me. I clicked on Cryptomundo now to see if I could see it.
Okay, Whammy just pointed something out there too. Did you see that, Mike?
What's that in the?
There was a 911 call recently in San Antonio, and they just released it.
Oh, okay.
So we got another 911 call. I know everybody knows the one famous one.
Yeah, there's that one that we've heard over and over. Just to let our guest know, if he's looking for that article on Cryptomundo, it's from the date is on December 3rd. They always date like when they post these things.
Right.
December 3rd. So if you go on the Cryptomundo page, obviously it would be today's date, and you could just back up a couple pages to December 3rd. That's where it's at.
Okay.
All right. Good deal. Let's see. I'll get back to my questions here. Let's see. We've already answered that one. If you were to take a guess, how many would you think we have of these creatures?
Well, again, I read before that estimated that for every 100 bear, they estimated for every 100 grizzly bear in the Northwest, they estimated that there was one Sasquatch. So, and I believe the population of the grizzly at the time of I was reading it was 100,000. So,
okay,
that's probably a good number to go by.
Yeah, I think I remember. I think it was Grover Krantz. Didn't Grover Krantz at one time say between 2,000 and 3,000?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've heard a few different numbers. I know some people say that they think there's more. I've heard people say they think it's less. I guess we really don't know, but.
Well, yeah, and then you have Canada, you have Siberia and all these other areas too, where you might have a population there too, as far as we know.
Right. All right, and let's see. Are you a member of any groups, any kind of Bigfoot groups or anything? On
Facebook, a member, a couple there, and then on just on the Bigfoot forum. I'm not a big contributor to the Bigfoot forum. I do go over there and browse around and see what's up.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually kind of got into this probably off the Bigfoot forums, because that's one of the first things that pop up when you do a search.
Right.
That forum's been around for quite a while, and there's a lot of information on there.
Yeah, I know. Whenever I do a blog posting about Bigfoot on my blog, a lot of my traffic comes from the Bigfoot forum.
Yep.
So.
That's right. So they've got a lot. Now I guess I think you kind of mentioned this before, but we'll ask it again. Are you with the kill this thing group or the don't kill this thing group?
Don't kill. I understand this scientific reason behind promoting that, but I just don't think we could do it and live with ourselves. I think it would be a criminal act, probably.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. And I'd be so afraid that if you took a shot at it, that it was some idiot in an ape suit.
Yeah, exactly right.
Running around the woods, some teenager or something doing a joke.
Right.
I just envision something crazy like that, and and unfortunately, it may end up happening. And that there is, we had a report of a fella down in southern portion of Virginia, near Danville, Virginia, who allegedly there's a teenager that will dress up in a gorilla suit and will wait in the edge of the woods until he sees a car coming, and then walk out into the road. And I swear, I don't think people fully understand that there's a lot of people out there that put a price tag on this thing.
Right. And
when you put a big price tag on it, they're going to try to hit it with their car. They're going to try to take a shot at it. You're really taking your life in your hands when you.
Plus, people may misidentify your costume as a bear or whatever, and just take a shot. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's. I don't know. They're definitely. I don't even know if I'd call that brave. I think I'd call that crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's one that a lot of people ask all the time. We get this question. I'm sure you've heard this question come up too. If these things exist, then why are there no bones?
Well, animals, and I'm certainly no expert, but animals, when they are ill or injured, they find shelter and to protect themselves. And when you find shelter, you're finding an area that's conducive to rapid decomposition when you cease to live. So you're probably losing a lot, and these are in temperate, almost rainforest type conditions where you're going to have a lot of humidity and a lot of insects. I think it may have been Monster Quest or whatever. They actually did a time-lapse photography of a deer that had died, and they put it out in this same kind of environment, and within a week the entire thing was gone. So
right. Yeah, I saw that episode too, and I thought that was extremely interesting. That is no time at all.
And Professor Krantz points out in the Big Footprints that he has come across very few people who have found bear bones in the wild.
Right.
And there are certainly bears out there. We can't deny that.
Right, that's right. Mike, is there any questions?
Just now, yep. We just had a question typed in there. A couple of comments back from Hucklebuck.
Okay.
And the question is, does the guest think that Bigfoot actively takes measures to deceive humans? And he goes on to explain, in other words, I guess one creature would draw attention to itself in one area, so one or more other creatures can pass unnoticed in another area.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think we'd have to assume that they're actively, not being seen. So taking deceptive measures is a very, good possibility. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a good possibility though. I tell you. Sometimes you wonder, you hear people talking about how they'll throw rocks or acorns or whatever, and people always think about that. Well, what if it threw that over there to focus my attention over there while it was taking off behind me, or
sure,
or whatever. It almost sounds like something like we would do.
Right.
We didn't want to get found. Any other questions there, Mike?
Since that last one, no, or unless, well, I'm not sure if this is a question for us or just to the rest of the folks in chat, because it's not in all caps, so it might just be a comment in chat. But Wings Away just said, how long did it take man to find elephant graveyards? So it might just be kind of a comment aside to the chatters, because it wasn't in caps, but that's an interesting thing. And just now, I just scrolled to the very bottom, just now Andy Drew typed one in. Andy Drew says, if you had an unlimited budget, would you investigate for longer periods of time in one place or several places during the year?
I think you'd want to commit to one active place, yeah. Because I think we talked about this earlier. It's one of those things where you have to acclimate yourself to the area and be accepted by the wildlife in the area, and almost kind of blend in.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. And yes, I did see that they want to make sure that we all know that JC broke his thumb. I wrote him an email this morning. I said, "What were you doing with your hand that you broke your thumb?" But maybe we don't want to know. But he knows I'm joking with him though. Well, how are you gonna put the ring on Diane's finger? I mean, if your thumb is broke, you're not gonna be able to put the ring on her finger. So you gotta have your thumb to hold that ring. You're gonna be in trouble.
Well, that's all right, Billy. I mean, that's okay. I mean, in the 5 years or so, it's going to take JC to talk Diane into this. His thumb will be fine in 5 years,
Oh, man. Any other questions in there, Mike?
Let me see. Let me scroll to the very bottom again. I do not see, not since Andy Drew's question.
Okay, I just made a quick check of the switchboard, and I don't see nothing there. Expeditions, Richard. Do you think expeditions where you have a lot of people, piling out into the woods or whatever, do you think those are successful?
No. A lot of people no. I think you want to stay, fairly small group. Certainly no more than 7 or 8 guys, and
right.
And do it that way.
Right. Yeah, and my big pet peeve on an expedition, turn the repeater off of your two-way. Bigfoot knows what. Beep, beep.
Right.
He knows that's not a natural sound in the woods. Oh, I tell you, two-way radios just irritate me to death. How about, people have been searching for this thing for quite some time now. Do you think that the discovery of this thing is going to happen in our lifetime?
I would like to think so, yes. So I'm going to say yes. I mean, what do I have to lose, by?
I think we all hope it'll happen in our lifetime.
Yeah, like I said, for one, they're unfortunately running out of room, space to hide, and two, the chances of catching this thing on some small, tiny little recording device is increasing, month to month with the way technology is growing. So. Yeah.
Oh, look at there. We got a caller to the switchboard. Let me get them on the air. Caller from the 651 area code. You're on the air.
Yeah, Richard, I was going to ask you this to Elusive One Abe again. Are you planning on doing another book about Bigfoot sometime in the near future or far future?
I would love to. I mean, I had a great time writing this one, and like I said, the first book I ever wrote that never went anywhere, was a Bigfoot book. So. Who knows? Maybe I'll break that out at some point and retool that. But
that'd be great. Definitely be keeping an eye on your work. And thanks again for answering another question.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, Abe. All right. Any questions from the chat before I go on there, Mike?
Well, there is one thing that's in caps, so I guess I'll read it just in case. This is, again, I'm not sure, meant for the show air or just asking people in chat, but Jerry Boy in chat, well, actually, you know what, it's not in all caps. Part of it is. Part of it is. But he was asking if anybody's ever heard of Leroy Blevins Sr. I certainly haven't. I don't know if that's a researcher.
Leroy Blevins Sr. I don't think I have. It doesn't sound familiar to me. I don't think I've heard that one. Let me get, where do you think these things live at, Richard? Do you think they live in nests, or do you think they live underground, maybe in caves?
Yeah, of course, in Lost Days, they live in caves, so right. I guess I lean towards that just because maybe not as regularly as I indicated in the book, but I think they live just wherever there's decent shelter,
Yeah, I think they'll take an opportunity if they can get it, any
right.
kind of opportunity.
Yeah, and that's a good way to describe them. I mean, they're opportunistic omnivores. Yeah. They'll sleep where they can. I think they've adapted to their environment. So,
yeah.
Billy, we just have one more question typed in there.
Okay.
We're getting down to the last minute or two of the show here, about 2 minutes. But Wings Away just typed in, if given a chance, would Richard go on a field search for Squatch?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. that would be the highlight of my life. Besides my marriage, I should say. Besides my wedding. And
just don't get too involved. You don't have to go through a divorce.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Well, Richard, we're down to about the last minute.
Okay.
Just so that everyone knows, if y'all are interested, the book by R.W. Ridley is called Lost Days. It is available on Amazon.com, so you can either go there, you can type in Lost Days, or just type in R.W. Ridley. I'm sure the book will come up. Or you can go to his website, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said it was www.rwridley.com.
Correct. That's it.
Okay, so if y'all want his book, definitely go to one of those avenues and pick it up. And I can tell you from what I've read so far, it's definitely a very interesting book. And I think that everyone here will enjoy reading it, because I certainly am myself already. So, Richard, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Billy, and thanks, Mike.
Yep, thank you. It's great to have you on the show with us.
And, if anything comes up and you got any updates for us, certainly feel free to give me an email or a call or whatever, and and get you back on the show.
I sure will. Yeah.
So thanks so much, Richard.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Or great night, I should
you
say.
too. Yeah, actually, that's right. Night.
Bye.
You too.
All right.
Take care.
All right, Mike. We've wrapped up another show.
Yes, we have.
Did you have any closing thoughts? We're getting first of all, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. We're getting ready to go off live, and we thank each and every one of you. And y'all have a good night. All right, we're off. We're no longer streaming. Did you have anything that you wanted to discuss or anything?
Not really. I mean, you asked a lot of good questions during the interview, and I think you covered most of the bases. I just wanted to, a little quick mention there. Sorry, Spin Dave, we didn't have time for your last question there because Spin Dave typed that question in, and we were down to about 30 or 40 seconds in the show. He typed the question in, but I think it's a little late. Unless you want to, if our guest is still on the phone, if he wants to field one more question, I don't know.
Well, I see his question there. He's talking about how has anyone done any research into looking at trees as a place where Bigfoot sleeps.
Right.
That of course brings to mind, that fellow that I had on the show back some months ago. I think it was actually back in December of last year, actually, who was a Marine who claims that he saw one up in the trees, and I think it's so hard for us to imagine that because we know that these things apparently have some great size to them, and to imagine one of these things being up in a tree just kind of blows your mind. But
well,
some of these mature trees, they may be able, be able to get up there.
It's possible, but yeah, I mean, it sure have to be a heck of a solid big tree because some of these creatures people are estimating 600, 800, 1,000 pounds. I've heard some people estimate. I mean, 1,000-pound animal out on a tree limb. That better be a big old tree limb, That better be a couple. That better be a couple of feet around. You know what I'm saying? It's like that limb better be as big as a lot of other trees' trunks, coming out of the ground. It has to be a real big tree. But
that's for sure.
I guess anything is possible.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything to add.
I would just add one more thing that about the tree thing. It's interesting because 9 out of 10 people would never even think to look up in a tree for a creature because you're thinking there's no way that they're going to be up there. But who knows? Like we just said, maybe there's a big old tree that could support 600 plus pounds. You never know. I bet it could have happened. Who knows? It could have happened where somebody literally walked right under a tree where one was up in a tree and looking down at this silly human walking underneath them, because the person never thought to look up. It could have happened already.
That's right.
Yeah, interesting.
All right. Well, I guess we've wrapped up another one. And, Mike, thanks again for being the great co-host that you are. Sure, Billy, no problem. My pleasure as always. And like I said, anything I can do to help the show out. I've always been a fan of your show, even when you did it with DB. So when I saw a chance to step in and help you out, keep the show moving along the way it always is. My pleasure to jump in there. All right. Well, I appreciate that, and we'll see everyone next Monday night at 9 p.m. Actually, let me see here. Let's see. I have next week. Might as well just bring this on out here. Let me see here. Let me open it up. All right. Next week we will have Lori Ledger on the show. Lori Ledger is another published book author who has been receiving many wonderful reviews. Her newest novel, called The Night Walker, Volume 1, is listed as one of the hottest new fiction novels for 2009. If you haven't purchased this book yet, Amazon.com says, and this is a quote from Amazon, it says, "You are truly missing out." So we will have Lori Ledger, who is, I guess, a neighbor actually of Henry May down there somewhere, because she's in Mississippi.
So and Bear too. Yep. He lives down there in Mississippi.
Yep. So we'll have Lori on the show next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So good night, everyone. Good night, Mike, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Good night, folks. Good night, Billy. Take care now.
All right. Good night.
It's Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Once again, it's time for the most intriguing talk radio on the internet today. This is Sasquatch Radio. Breaking news and information from around the world. Interviews with men and women investigating the mystery. The latest high-tech equipment. Cutting-edge research techniques. And amazing discoveries. Real-life people sharing real-life encounters. The director and founder of Sasquatch Watch, Virginia. Here is your host, Billy Willard. Something is out there in the dark, watching, waiting. It's time to unleash the beast. This is Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Why?
Why?
If you have T-Mobile 5G home internet, you might be hearing this.
Why?
A lot.
Why?
Every time your internet slows down during the busiest hours.
Why?
Why?
Because your network gives priority to cell phone users.
Why?
Good question. Why not switch to Cox Internet with 2 times faster download speeds than T-Mobile 5G home internet during peak hours?
Okay.
Stop the whys and visit cox.com/5G home for details. T-Mobile prioritizes certain T-Mobile phone users over home internet users during times of congestion.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.